Hello and welcome to this episode of FireDEV, a fireside chat with people in the industry. Today my guest is Lara Lapier. Lara, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. It's so fun to be here. It's like my first time being a guest in a podcast. How amazing is that? Thank you so much for the invitation. I feel honored, obviously.
I appreciate you taking the time to come on to the podcast today. So, you work for Terra Localizations. Do you
Yeah,
want to tell the audience what Terra Localizations, does and also your role at Terra Localizations?
absolutely. I would like to start like explaining what localization is because I don't know if many people know about it, but when we talk about localization, most of people just think about translation, right? But localization actually is the process of adapting content, products, or services to the culture and language of the customers, in this case, the gamers, because we work with video games. So I'm a translator, I'm an English translator, and that's pretty much my job. I obviously not translate games, but my job is to be a business developer manager. So I have to find the clients and the games that want to get localized, obviously. So I provide the services from my company, and yeah, it's lovely. I love my job because I've been playing video games since I was 6 years old. And that young, and back in the day, we didn't have video games localized, so I learned how to speak English by playing video games. um, so yeah, nowadays having this job, being able to carry that flag, to be like, hey, um, if you talk to me, we can get your game everywhere. I don't know, it's really rewarding to me.
So at what stage of, a game's development process would this sort of localization occur?
It actually, we would like to be involved if possible. I know it sometimes is not even that possible, but early, because most AAA companies usually they involve the localization team early in the development because they have all these cultural nuances that have to be taken care of. But obviously, as an LSP, we get into the later parts of the development to actually start translating and localizing the games. But yeah, it's always to have localization in mind. When you are making a video game, you have to be aware of the localization team for the future because otherwise, there will be a lot of costs taken into account, that will appear random and be like, oh my God, I didn't think about this. Like, for example, the fonts, the characters, everything in the video game, So those are little things that have to be changed for the localization team to work with. And yeah, we would like to. I would love to be like part of a team like from the beginning, but I know it's not possible. I am really aware of it, but I would love to like make developers aware of localization because if they actually want their game to reach international markets, well, they have to be localized for sure.
Oh yeah. Plus also it adds, for certain games, it adds an extra level of immersion. Like
Oh my God, yeah.
a game that comes to mind is Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know if you've played that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, they ha- it's in English. They had
Yeah.
a Japanese, dubbed version. That was part of the game that you buy, and that was meant to be the most authentic experience. And I remember when I bought that game, I said to myself, "I'm gonna play it in Japanese. I'll have the English subtitles, and I will have the most native experience, possible, for it." And the Japanese side of it sounded great because I usually don't like when stuff is in a different language
Oh, yeah.
and I have to read subtitles. I'm not a big fan of that. Especially when it comes to movies, and this is a very immersive game as it is. But I thought I'll give it a go with Ghost of Tsushima. I start playing it and something's off, like something doesn't seem right. And then, like, not far into the game, I'm talking about probably 20, 30 minutes when some proper dialogue starts happening, you can tell the lip syncing is off. And then I read online the lip syncing was still done to the English version.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they had put the Japanese, language on top, but you were seeing their lips move that was not matching the actual, what they were saying. It's not 20
Yeah.
years ago where the lips would just open and close.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotion in the lips now, and the
Yeah.
face, and it wasn't matching the pace and what they were saying. They have since patched that up, and the animation and the characters do match the Japanese
Oh,
language
that's
now.
lovely.
But as a result, at the time, I actually foregoed playing it in Japanese, even though I was ready to play it and give it a go because of that. And I feel like that's something, you mentioned at the start, localization. When you hear that, and I definitely the same for me. I usually imagine just translating it, almost
Yeah.
like what you would, Google Translate,
Yeah.
effectively. But there's
Yeah. And
so many, more things that are added to the depth of localization. Plus, also, it's like you were saying, if you're involved at the earlier stages, you can, let them know. You got to make
yeah.
sure that the lip syncing's right. That maybe there's certain things that are culturally insensitive, as well, within the game. Like, how do you handle a situation like that where when you're translating it, the game might have content and references that are, there are sensitive topics in a particular country? Like, how do you handle that with the development team, the
Yeah, we
company?
usually flag those kind of things. We usually let them know that this is something that might cause some sort of disruption into the immersion of the game. We often come up with alternatives, so we can make things smoother for them too. And we do what I like to call reverse translation, because we give them options and they are translated in English for each of the languages to let them know which one will be best or which one will fit better, right? Into their game, and let them choose. Because obviously we are just working in the game, we have our experience working with them and everything, but obviously the client has the word, so you have to offer them the options and let them know that this could be offensive in other cultures. Or yeah, for example, there is something that happens a lot, and it's such a small and simple thing, right? For example, the formats of the dates, the measurements, the addresses, and yeah, the time zones, like images and icons and all these other complex processes that might seem like little things, but you have to flag them. You have to be like, hey, we use the metric system here, so we cannot use miles. So yeah, it's just those little things to yeah, because if you don't take that into the early development of a game, later on it will be a pain in your ass basically. So yeah, that's why I think like involving the localization team early on, it's a plus.
Oh yeah, 100%. These suggestions that you make, do they fall on deaf ears, or do they a lot of the time actually action them?
No, I mean, they actually, sometimes we just flag things. They are like really thankful when we do. Um, and they tell us to like, yeah, go ahead, do those changes that you believe they are the best. So we go ahead with that entire freedom, and it's amazing. Other times it's just like they have the last word, let's say. So they just choose whatever fits better. And we always all have to adapt to the client, obviously.
Okay. And, I think some audience members might be thinking, why not bring that in house? Like, why use a company and outsource it to someone like Terra Localization? Why not just bring, translators, for example, in house and do it internally, and probably be a lot cheaper?
Um, because it might be cheaper, but if you don't trust the translators that they are doing a good job, how are you going to make the localization of your game successful, right? Because there are a lot of translators and there are a lot of translation companies and everything, but we do have our quality assurance like top tier quality, right? We are ISO certified and everything. So we have like this humongous backpack of knowledge and quality certifications that will absolutely like 100% take care of the localization of your game freely without like any storms or anything at all. So yeah, you can probably go to Fiverr. You can actually get translators for cheap, but are you sure that it's going to be a good quality translation that you're going to get? And let me tell you, I mean, you can go and do it, but it's not easy when you see the backlash of the fans, like actually being really annoyed with the localization teams from different companies. For example, I remember Addis. I don't know if you saw that, but Reddit was a like the forum where everything exploded. Like fans were really angry with the devs because they took translation into yeah, I think it was fan made or something like that, and it was not well done. And it was kind of sad because I really enjoyed the game and everything, but it was like this could have been taken care of with someone like us that know about the industry. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about here as a gamer, right? First, because obviously I was born practically with a joystick in my hand. So I appreciate a good localization. I really do. And I am pretty sure that most of the people nowadays does do because it's just like, yeah, I think as my boss likes to say, when I like to call the translators as ninjas because if you don't see them, if you don't notice the localization, the job is well done. If you notice that something is wrong in the game, you're going to go and blame it in the localization team. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. And like Terra localization, how many languages do they offer these, localizing services in?
We have more than 15 languages. We usually like to ask the clients first where do they want to like launch their games to. So we can obviously like adapt ourselves and look for the perfect resources to work in their games and everything. But yeah, it's more than 15 languages, and yeah, it's up to the client always.
Okay. And you said you do English translation. Is that translation to English or from English to another language?
Both. Actually, we have some clients that their main language of their games is not English. So we usually do the translation to English from the source language. I don't know, for example, just I'm just going to say French, let's say. We do it to English and then we just translate it to the languages they need. Me personally, I just speak Spanish and yeah, I translate into English. But yeah, I'm not currently translating anything because my job as a biz dev consumes all my time. So I don't have enough time to sit and translate a video game.
So, what made you get into this field of game localization? Because it's, when you think of getting into the gaming and, the gaming industry, it's not the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like for most people, it probably wouldn't come into their mind at all, even though it's become increasingly popular, especially with, more and more accessible, options in game. Then obviously part of that is localization, whether it's translation or just keeping it localized for the actual culture, itself. So, what made you get into this? Because you are an avid gamer yourself.
Yeah, I love this question. So when I was studying translation, at the same time I was obviously playing, right? And I saw some. I don't even remember what I was playing. To be completely honest with you, I saw some mistakes, with the translation, and I was like, oh, I could totally do this 100% better. And then I was like, well, I mean, if I say I can do it, there has to be a market for it, right? So that's when I set my mind into localization, video game localization. I was studying. I remember I was in at university, and one teacher told me uh, what I wanted to do when I graduated, and I was like, I want to work with video games, and she was like, um, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, 100%. She didn't have like any faith in me whatsoever, so it was just like such a bummer. But it was just so focused on it. So I kept studying. I kept like doing courses and stuff. And one day I just found I was working actually as a biz dev in another company that had nothing to do with translation or localization. Um, so that actually appeared into my life. So yeah, it was just purely a blessing, to be honest, because it was everything that I ever dreamed of, you know. So yeah, I mean, just because I saw some bad translation in a game, it's just like sparkled in me, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. But yeah, it's it's a it's a funny story. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Sometimes that's all it takes for you to, be in the process of experiencing a product, and you think I can do a better job. I know why it's not as good as it could be, and like sometimes that's literally all that's required, and I think that's very very common for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe I'm better than anyone. It was just something that I think it was a game that I was really, really into, and I was like, oh my god, like I know the lore, I know everything about it. So I was completely like sure that I could do a better job at it. Obviously, like I
What game
didn't
was it?
work with
Do you
it. I
remember?
don't remember. I swear to you, I don't remember. But that's when that's when I got the idea of like, oh, there is people doing this. There is people that like are living are getting like an income with this, and I was like, I have to get it. I have to do it. Um, so yeah, I like to say that when I focus myself on something, it's really hard for me to like see other things. So it was just like a straight line from there because I wanted it and I got it. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because you know, a lot of people go through many ups and downs to find their career, and for you to find it like this in something that you love,
Yeah.
and then it to be sparked by you playing and enjoying a game, and then you thinking
But I think that's
you
the
can do
thing about
better.
the video game industry. Most of the people that I know, at least, we all love video games, right? And we never thought about working on the video game industry. But then suddenly it comes and it's just like, oh, yeah, sure, let's do it, right? And I think that the industry fits itself within the passion of the gamers and the people that are working on those games. So I think it's a beautiful industry, honestly.
Oh, yeah, 100% it is. So what are the top three challenges when localizing games?
Ooh, I like this question. Um, so I would say getting the cultural nuances is one because obviously sometimes we see some cultural things that might lead into some legal trouble in other countries. So whenever we got a game and we see these kind of things, we obviously have to flag them, but I don't know, making the developer aware of these kind of things too is also, I think, super important because obviously it's something that, I mean, I try to shed light into because it's like uh, really important, right? Also, I will say another challenge that has come into this industry nowadays is to have the translators on the credits because I don't want to name games, but recently I saw a post that in the credits of the game, it just said thanks to all the translators that work in the game. And I thought that was so unfair because I know the amount of sweat, tears, and blood put into that game was immense, right? Um, so I think in the video game localization industry, those I think that one is like the biggest issue that we are going through right now. Um, Personally, well, because I'm a translator, right? Um, and yeah, sometimes it's just not easy to see the how my colleagues get dragged. It's kind of a bummer, right? But yeah, I mean, I will say the cultural nuances. I would like to call it culturalization, right? Because it's just like getting the cultural things and localizing them and adapting all those cultural nuances. Then the second problem, it will be obviously the translators in the credits, because that's something that I really want to acknowledge right now, because it's kind of insane, um but yeah, and another thing that I would like to call it like as a problem, right? But I don't think it's like that much of a problem. It's just like being aware of the fonts and the character limits, because not all languages have and can use the same fonts. For example, um, in Spanish, we have a letter that most of the I don't know. Most of the fonts actually don't take. So if you type the letter, it will just appear like a square box into the game, and it looks so shitty. It's just like it's such a little thing to just change the font of the game, just to be aware that there are a lot of languages that use special characters. So yeah, it's just I will say that, and then we'll save like a lot of time and money also into the localization.
Okay, so you mentioned that one of the biggest challenges that your industry is facing is the recognition. Getting
Yeah.
the recognition for the work that you guys are doing. They're not properly, recognizing credits, and even when they are, it's just a general glance of, thanks to the localization, department or team. You know, why do you think that is? Well, because obviously you guys have worked on it,
Yeah.
and you guys have been paid for it. Like so, like why do you think the publisher or the developer, why do you think they're reluctant to give proper acknowledgement, acknowledgement? Because whereas, there's always a list of programmers, a list of artists, there's, list of HR people, list of
Oh my god,
accounting
yeah.
people.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't know why this is happening. Like, we actually put a lot of hours and a lot of work into the games to not like be able to be in the credits. I would really like to know why. We obviously, as a company, we also try to facilitate this thing just by every time we finished working on a game, we just send the developer the list with all the people that worked in the video game, so they can all appear in the credits. But sometimes it's just I don't know, they don't take us into account, I think. And it's pretty unfair, to be honest, because it's 2023, and like if you want to say that your game was localized by machine, okay, just say it. But it is not the case. It's there are people working behind the game. So yeah, I would really like to know too, honestly, because it's insane.
So you raised an interesting topic there, AI effectively.
Yeah.
So you mentioned if it's translated and made by a computer, a machine, and obviously the hot topic over the last 12 months has been artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
How do you see AI's involvement and role in localization, and does it scare you for either your job or your industry? Because considering there's already little recognition, I guess there'll be little you know concern for a company to replace Terra with an AI, or like a localization company with AI, for example, and then they don't have the hassle of having to give credit and any other issues they have it.
This is like a really controversial thing in my industry. And honestly, I think that when you're using AI, right? And you are trying to use it in another language. How are you making sure that the AI is saying what you want to say into that language that you want to, I don't know, localize, right? How do I see AI? I see it as a tool. It's literally a tool because I'm not scared of it. I just think if we can use it to like improve our time, putting an effort put into the game, it will be better. But here is the thing: would you rather like trust blindly in AI, or would you rather like get in contact with a company, with a localization company that can work with AI, but will also have this human eye, like reviewing everything and making sure that the whatever the AI is saying, it's true and it doesn't have any mistakes and it doesn't have any cultural, I don't know, because that's the thing. Sometimes AI is biased and it can get some tricky situations, you know. But yeah, I'm not scared of AI honestly, because if we use it as a tool, it's like a really really good thing. But if we start like trusting blindly into AI, I don't think that's going to go well for anyone. Because honestly, I've seen some games like translated with AI. And when I tried to play them, it was just an instant nope. I had to close it, uninstall it. And I was like, nope, what am I reading? What am I doing? No. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I think you have to think twice about it when you want to apply that into your game. Like, do you want to really create an immersive experience for the player, or do you want to save money? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the dilemma. And when you're, let's say if you're a bit strapped for cash, you're on a smaller budget, sometimes you do make decisions that might not be in the best interest for gamers. But then obviously the issue is when, a big company has, board members and investors and shareholders to impress. Sometimes they're thinking, do we need to go down this localization route? Can we just put it in house or outsource that? Again, it's a matter of can we outsource it from instead of a Western company, can we put it to like an Indian or a Romanian company, which is cheaper? Like this whole thing of cutting costs and cutting corners has been around for ages. Now it just happens to involve AI and less human interaction. Are there any major companies that you know of that have pretty much put all of their localization onto AI?
No, and no, I'm not sure. And I don't feel comfortable saying because I'm not sure. Like, I think our company just values the human touch. We value our resources. We value our translators. But yeah, no, having like a company that goes 100% into AI, no, I'm not sure, honestly, because it will be tricky for the company too if you think about it. Like, um, yeah, how are they going to manage that situation? Um, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, fair enough. Have you looked into these AI tools like ChatGPT and Bard much?
Yes. So this is going to be extremely funny because I've started reading a lot of LinkedIn posts. And they all sounded like they sounded like to be pretty much the same. So I just made a test. I was like, okay, I went to ChatGPT, I opened it, and I was like, okay, write this with this and this. And it just literally popped kind of the same thing that these people were posting on LinkedIn. And I was like, oh my God, they're using AI.
Yeah,
It
like
was
there's so many people. I mean, I use it myself. I'm not going to sit here and deny that I don't. But there's so many people out there, and if you ask them, they will probably deny it because
they will
I
deny it.
yeah, I've explored AI over the last 12 months, especially ChatGPT, very, very heavily. There's a few
Yeah.
projects I'm working on behind the scenes, and I got to grips with how ChatGPT works and what it pumps out. So when I see something and I'm like, the format of that and the amount of lines and like the way the
Yeah.
emojis are placed, I'm like
This
I
was
can bet
created by
my left arm
ChatGPT.
that
Yeah.
that is GPT generated. Like I know it is. And then sometimes I'll see it from someone and I'm like, I know your English is nowhere near that good. Like there's no way you're
I
producing that.
know, I know, I know. I mean, I've seen it. I think everyone sees it at this point. It's just so shameless at this point right now. It's just like, oh my
Yeah, everyone's just right now. It is kind of a a thing that you don't want to talk about, that you can't almost admit to, but it is fast becoming like grammar checking and spell checking. It's
yes,
going to be
I do that.
crucial.
Oh my god,
Everyone's going
yes,
to use it too, and it just
yes.
depends on how much.
Absolutely. I mean, I like to write my posts on my phone because I usually get like this sort of inspiration when I'm already in bed. So yeah, it's it's something, you know. As soon as my head touches my pillow, it's just like the inspiration comes. So I start typing in my phone all the things that come into my mind. And then I just come into the computer, I write everything down, and then yeah, I use ChatGPT to proofread my things, obviously, because I also I'm well aware that every time I type I might, like, I don't know, destroy the spelling of a word. And yeah, ChatGPT will fix that for me. But here's the thing, I'm using ChatGPT as a tool. I'm not
Yes.
using ChatGPT to publish everything that comes raw from the AI, you know, because if I just post something that comes absolutely raw from the AI, you could tell miles away. I mean, it will be so obvious. And like nowadays I see it, and people is just like, I don't know, publishing articles on LinkedIn, right? Using ChatGPT, and I'm like, there is no way. But yeah, it's a lot of people doing it. So yeah.
Have you ever used these tools and genuinely been blown away? Not, oh, it's pretty cool, saves a bit of time. Genuine, like you've done something, typed something, asked something, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, well, I'm not really good at math, and I'm not really good with legal stuff. Sometimes well, and my first language is Spanish, so when I'm like, when I see a word or when I see something that I don't understand, I just literally go to ChatGPT and please explain this to me as I'm a 12-year-old boy that doesn't understand anything about it. And the machine just like teaches me how to, I don't know, do this math thing. And yeah, I mean, I use it as a tool, obviously, and I get so blown away because as soon as I tell it, like, please explain this to me, as I'm 12 years old and I don't know anything about it, and it's so magical. Because I'm able to understand things easily without being like, hey, annoying my coworkers. Hey, do you know this? Like, I feel like it's such a great tool if you use it correctly. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just little things, you know. I know I haven't used it for like huge stuff, obviously, but for the little things, I love it. I love it. I mean, I even taught my mom how to use it, and she was just like using it just to see where it will be better to put a mirror in her house, and I was like, this is amazing. I mean, AI is brilliant. It could help me with anything. It's amazing.
The opportunity, the possibilities, and I like that you mentioned that it's a tool, and like any tool, it has its purposes, but you got to realize when the tool reaches its limits. The
Yeah.
limits are very high. Like there's a lot Chat GPT can do, and the dynamic nature of it, the ever expanding, ever learning nature, and the fact that the more you use it, the more you figure out how to get the most out of it. I feel like that's what's so unique, about it. Using it now for the first time, and then you consistently using it on a regular basis. Then in 3 months, what you can do with it is insane. And I feel like there'll be a lot of, you know, companies and people that will become really successful and rich, that will figure out how to leverage ChatGPT and some of these other AI tools in a way that just accelerates them beyond anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and there is no shame if you actually are using ChatGPT as a tool, because I've heard people like, oh, you're using ChatGPT, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm using it as a tool. So it's just like, I'm not using raw input. I'm not using anything that the machine gives me. I just use it to proofread and stuff. But like, admit it. If you're using it, admit it. Because it's just like, if you're not admitting that you're using ChatGPT and you use it on a daily basis, for example, to post on LinkedIn, and you can tell miles away when you read a post that is created by ChatGPT, it's just like, come on. Like, it just lacks, like, I don't know, a sign at the end that this post was created by ChatGPT, because it's so obvious. Yeah, I mean, use it, but don't abuse it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's like, any tool, to be honest. Uh,
Yeah.
you're a host at Open World Videocast.
Oh,
You
yeah.
want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a video cast that is sort of like a podcast, with the company, right? And we like to have interviews with people from the localization industry, from different companies, um, to ask questions to them, like from their video games, from their personal experience, from whatever they can tell us about, so we can learn more about how they are managing the localization. It's basically for translators, for anyone that is actually interested into getting like a sneak peek into the localization teams around these big companies. So yeah, I mean, I love doing it. um, I think my biggest flaw in the podcast is like, I'm such a fan, I'm such a nerd, that every time I'm fangirling over video games so much that I have to restrain myself to do it, because it's just like, oh my god, I get so excited. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I love it.
Okay, so is that a project by Terra Localization,
Yeah.
or is that just something totally different?
No, it's by Terra Localization. We just produce it inside the company and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. And you're also an ambassador for women in games.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that and how people can get involved, and the work that that organization is doing?
Yeah, I mean, we want to bring visibility towards women in the video game industry. Obviously, there have been like a lot of things happening, especially this year at GDC. Um, well, I think it's not fair, because a lot of women were assaulted and stuff. And I think it was like the breaking point. Women in Games is just this awesome and cool organization full of women that support women, and a lot of companies that are supporting this organization. Um, so yeah, I mean, we have a lot of how do I say this? We have a lot of workshops, we have a lot of talks. It's like a support group, right? Um, we are obviously like against discrimination, exploitation, bullying, harassment. It's just like supporting that. For me as a woman, as someone that started playing video games as a girl that had to hide behind a boy's name to being able to play freely, for me it's huge, because like we are trying to make an impact. We are trying to like uh make women feel like sure about their jobs, make them feel safe. But yeah, I love it, and it's such an honor for me to be an ambassador of this amazing organization.
So, how can someone that is interested in getting involved? What's the best way?
You can go to the webpage, womeningames.org, and then you can get involved. You can actually donate. You can become a Women in Games ambassador. And yeah, I mean, you can partner with Women in Games ambassador. You can join the list Discord server, the Facebook group, the Twitch channel. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing what they are doing, and it's just a complete honor. Like, yeah.
Okay, and obviously you're a big, fan of video games yourself.
Yeah.
What's your favorite game?
Oh my god. This is such a hard question. So I really like RPGs, you know. It's really hard for me to get away from RPGs. It's like RPGs are my life. Um but I have to say that uh oh, it's so hard to choose one. I love Fallout New Vegas. I think I will rank that one like number one. It will followed by Zelda Breath of the Wild. And in the third place, this is so hard. Like I'm between The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk because I love them both. um, but yeah, I mean, I really love a nice like a nice RPG with some strong characters, and yeah, somewhere that I can spend like 80 hours in it. I'm down to it. I love it.
Okay, and what game are you looking forward to?
I have to play Baldur's Gate. I know. It's just something that I
Everyone's talking
haven't.
about that.
Yes, yes, everyone is talking about it, and I feel so late to the party because I haven't even touched it. I have it in there, but I know it will consume all my time. And right now, it's not a good moment to fall into that loophole. But I have to. I have to. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, it's a it's a really good looking game, and I cannot wait.
So, what's your platform of choice? Console, PC, Xbox, PlayStation,
Oof.
Switch?
Okay. Yeah. So I travel a lot for work. Um. So I would say my some obviously my go-to it has to be the Switch because I'm traveling all the time. But also I have this huge PC setup that I love. This is like whenever I feel more comfortable playing, this is my place. So if I have to choose one, it will be my PC. But I also have a PS5 and well, the Switch. But yeah, my PC is queen. I love her.
So, what's your favorite Nintendo game right now? Have you played Super Mario Wonder?
I haven't yet. It's just something that I have to play because here is the thing. I have to finish Tears of the Kingdom. 'Cause I don't want to finish it. This happens to me like all the time. I don't want to finish a game, so I keep like postponing it, and one day I'm going to finish it. And yeah, I will get into Super Mario, but as soon as I finish Tears of the Kingdom, I will probably go to that one. Because right now I'm consumed between Tears of the Kingdom and Just Dance. Because I don't know if you like Just Dance, but I love Just Dance, and they
I mean,
dropped
it's
like
been ages since I played it. I think I
I
might
love
have
it.
played it at an arcade about a year ago, but I've never owned it per se. It's always been either at an arcade or, like at a school event like years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, I love it. It's so much fun. And they launched it just ends 2024, so they have like amazing new songs and stuff. And that's something that, yeah, I'm not really into exercising, but Ubisoft got me into exercising thanks to that game. So thanks, Ubisoft.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. It's definitely one of those games that you can't really play without moving. Like, it definitely gets you moving. Like, unlike
Yes.
the Wii, where yeah, initially it was, oh, you got to move, but then you realize you just got to flick the controller and you can get it to do what you want it to do.
It doesn't work. I swear I tried. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit and I will move my hand. It doesn't really work. Like I tried, but I have to move. So it's fun. I'm always laughing about it. I'm always like having a great time. But yeah, I love it.
Okay, so if you like that game, then and another game that comes to mind is Beat Saber. Have you played that? And what's
Oh
your
my
thoughts on
god.
VR?
Yes, I love VR, but I get motion sick when I play it. So I can play it for like an hour or two tops. Cause yeah, I tend to get sick because I'm not used to the VR set, but I love it. I mean, it's so unfair that I get sick from playing it because I want to keep playing. And yeah, I love Beat Saber too. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean it's so old now. The game is it's over 5 years old, I want to say, and it's
Oh my
still
god, yeah, you're
going as
making me feel old.
one of the top selling
Yeah.
VR games. It's one of the go to ones. It doesn't matter whether you buy a PSVR, an
But it's
Oculus
so much
Quest.
fun. Yeah.
It,
They
it, it doesn't
nailed
really
it.
matter what you buy. Like that's a go to game, and it just it just looks good. It feels good. It's music with lightsabers. That was always the
Yeah.
comparison that I drew from it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, and what other VR experiences do you enjoy and would you recommend?
I've seen this game. I think it was like I don't wanna be like this person, but it was this game about like you were in an office and I think it was Job Simulator. It made me crack laughing. I was like, oh my god, it was so dumb, but at the same time, so much fun because you had to like throw things away and break things at the same time. And yeah, I think that's really a nice way when I don't know you're having a bad day and you want to just chill and have a laugh. I think Job Simulator just does the job.
Yeah, it's like VR is definitely something that when you put the headset on, you can really escape reality. Like video games are great and so are movies, but you still have that feeling you're in reality because you can look around, but when you look around in VR, you move your head. You're still within the world.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest problem because as soon as I have to move my head, I want to see everything, and that's when I get sick
Mm.
because I tend to get like really dizzy. But yeah, I mean, I love it anyways. And I think like motion sickness can be cured, but I have to like expose myself for like really long hours to it. And I don't want to feel sick. So it's just something that I will keep postponing until one day I might be able to do it. But yeah, I can play an hour, 2 hours tops. But I love it.
Okay, so if somebody is interested in getting into localization, especially after listening to this podcast, what advice would you give? What tips and tricks? Let's say they're at university or just thinking about going to uni. What advice would you give? And what path?
I would say like feel free to ask questions to people that know because I think that's the best thing about this industry. There is a lot of knowledgeable people that are willing to share their knowledge, and you can actually talk to them. You can actually like keep learning from them. Also, there are like a lot of available courses, and you can always like keep improving your knowledge. And I think that's also key because yeah, I mean it's not easy in a world that it's always evolving to be always on top, right? But yeah, I mean the people that want to get into video game localization, you have to get along with technology. Obviously, you have to be creative. You have to be resourceful. You have to feel comfortable translating a variety of texts because as we do, I don't know, in-game text, We also gonna have legal text, and yeah, it's just a variety of things that might, I don't know, one day will be like extremely fun and the other day will be like, oh no. But yeah, it's just like be ready for those kind of challenges. And yeah, if you have like any interest and affinity with video games, then yeah, you're you have like the perfect translator profile, you know?
Oh yeah, like having an interest in video games definitely helps.
Yeah.
Compared to having an interest. So, like, are there any or are there many roles for programmers and art? The typical games industry roles, so like programmers and artists within localization, or is it more really just for language people, translators of sorts?
um I think it's just mostly translators, because we like to call them like the cultural beacons, you know? They are the ones that are protecting the culture of their language. um so yeah, but also, I mean, we have a lot of people that do QA, and maybe with the right training, and if you speak two languages, you might be able to get a role as a QA. But yeah, I mean, it's just mostly translators, not art, not programming, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good to know because people that are listening to this episode, I like them to have an idea of what's involved in localization, what jobs are available. Because I don't want them going away, and I'm sure you don't either, thinking that okay, I like the idea of localization, it interests me, but my heart is set on being an artist or a programmer, and there's plenty of jobs within it for those. Obviously, you're saying it's more language based, and so you've got to figure out,
Yeah,
is it
absolutely.
localization that is a more of a burning passion, or is it more the other stuff like the programming, the art, for
Exactly.
example, that aren't involved? So is it pretty crucial that you should know more than one language then very well before you get into
um
localization?
at least to get into Terra, you have to have a degree in translation, or at least 3 years of proven experience as a translator. Because yeah, we are ISO certified, so that's one of the things that the ISO certification requires from us. So yeah, for, I mean, maybe you can get into another company that doesn't have such requirements, but for us, that we do have those quality requirements, yeah, it's just for translators or people that have proven experience as translators.
Okay, fair enough. And is it crucial that you go to university, or because something like programming, for example, you can go to university and get a computer science degree or software engineering, but you can go down the other route of self-learning. There's a lot of content on YouTube, Udemy, Skillshare, and build up your portfolio online, and you can go down that route. A little harder, but it's more than achievable.
Yeah,
How is it with localization?
it's not, I mean, for us it's not necessary. That's why when we say um, you can have either a degree or 3 years of experience at working as a translator. So in those 3 years, you might be born as a bilingual person, but you have been working as a translator for 3 years. You don't have a degree, but you have 3 years of experience to back you up. You can totally do it.
No, okay, that's good then. So, before we start, wrapping up this episode of the podcast, I always like to ask a few, more fun questions at the end, a little rapid fire. I've already asked one or two of them in terms of what game are you looking forward to, what's your favorite game, but there's a few more like, what's your favorite movie and favorite board game?
Oh, I like this. So board game, I like I don't know how it's I don't know if it's yeah, I think it's Cards Against Humanity in English.
Yes, I'll play that.
It's so much fun when you play it with friends, and yeah.
Isn't that the one that's not really suitable for kids?
Yeah, it is not suitable for
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, because me and my wife wanted to buy, a pack, that was themed. I think it might have been like Friends themed or something themed, like a theme play with my wife's sister. But it was a bit obviously. It was like, nah, it's not suitable because she's younger.
Yeah, no, it's not suitable for like no. Don't make her play that. I mean, um, and yeah, favorite movie. This one is actually hard. Um, because I have like several movies that I go to. Well, the Harry Potter saga for me is one. Obviously, like, it's like my safe place. um, but yeah, if I have to pinpoint only one movie, it's so hard. I don't think I can. I don't think I can honestly. um, yeah,
So
it.
let's say Harry Potter then.
Yeah, let's say Harry Potter. Yeah.
Have you played Hogwarts Legacy?
Oh my god, yeah. I loved it. I loved it. Such a beautiful game because I think I liked it more than I should because I saw a lot of things that they were taking out from they were taken out from the books actually. Um so when I saw some of the I don't know some of the things that were described in the book when I saw them in the game, it was just mind blowing. I literally like cried a few times when I was like walking um, within Howard's. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a masterpiece. I loved it. I think it's something that my generation needed, honestly, because I grew up with Harry Potter. Obviously, I'm 28. So like being able to walk around the castle for me was ah, such a beautiful experience, and I'm forever thankful for the team that worked on that game because it's amazing.
Well, yeah, I haven't played the game, but my wife loves Harry Potter and she loves the game, and I've watched her play. And even as someone who's not a big fan of Harry Potter, I was watching, I was like, this looks good. Like, you can
It's
tell the
amazing. Yeah.
developers have put effort into it because it got delayed several times as well. And there's always that fear of when games get delayed, is it going to be worth the wait as well? And from what I can see, it totally was.
Yes, it was. Sometimes I just nowadays, I just rather like games getting delayed, instead of getting games that are absolutely broken. Honestly, because it breaks my heart to see all the hate that the developers can get from that, um, and they don't deserve, obviously. So I
Plus all the
actually feel
money that
happy.
like you as a gamer spend and then you get a
Yeah,
broken game.
yeah, yeah, I know. I know. I actually get happy when the games are delayed, like honestly, because they are giving more time to the people that are working in the game.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. Like having a quality game over an inferior game is definitely better. So, last question. It's a two-parter. Does money buy you happiness? And what does a good life mean to you?
Oh, I don't think money buys you happiness, but it helps. I mean, money bought me a PS5, and I'm pretty happy with my PS5. um, and for me, a happy life will be next to my husband, obviously, and my two cats. And yeah, just a good life is a rainy day and me being able to sit and play and share a moment with my ones. That's for me, that's happiness right there.
Okay, fair enough. So we also want to thank you, Lara, for coming on the podcast today. It was really insightful. You're the first person for a localization company that I've had on, and before we connected, and there was the discussion of getting you on localization. Even though it's something I've seen in games and I've come across, it wasn't really something that came to mind. Like if you asked me, list the 10 occupations within the gaming industry, I would have listed accountant and like HR and legal before localization. Like, yeah, programmer artist would have been first, designer, level design, all that sort of stuff would have been first. But then like localization just doesn't come to mind. And I think that is a problem with the industry. There's not recognition, even though there's a lot of work. Because when localization is done well, it really enhances it. But it's one of those things that you don't really notice, but it's good that you don't notice because it works well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. If you are not noticing the localization, it means that the translators are doing a good job. Thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing. I love this.
Really appreciate you coming on, and I'm really happy that you enjoyed as well. So I just want to say thank you for everyone listening as well. This was just this week's episode of FireDEV with Lara Lapier, and stay tuned for next week's episode. Bye bye.